Hey, today's Tuesday, November the 25th, and on this edition of Tech and Coffee's Android Journal, Google's down and my world is ending. Hey, T-Mobile's free music service is expanding. Samsung sells 40% less S5s than they expected, and get a free terabyte of drive storage with your new Chromebook. Hey, all this, apps, and more. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And hey, man, I'm panelist. What's up here? I'm in here tonight with all my friends. Robert Taylor has a very good use. He, on top of everything else that he's got going on this time of year, he actually was in an automobile accident earlier today. He's fine. And I think as soon as he gets back to the house and kind of gains his composure, he'll be joining me. Hey, but now Bruce, Jeff, and George, man, you're on Duke Claus's naughty list. Yeah, man. So, hey, on with the show. First of all, guys, man, Google's down. I mean, it's down. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. I don't know what's up. It's been down for me most of the afternoon. If you go to Google's services page, Gmail might have some problems sparsely, but everything else is showing up. But I am definitely having some issues with Google services this afternoon. So, hey, yeah, man, I don't like it because I'm a Google fanboy. And hey, Rob, you rescued me, man. Yeah, I was just saying, hey, Google services appear to be down for me, man.
You know, I've been having trouble all day long. Of course, I've had a very, very hectic day, but I have noticed the same thing, that occasionally I can't get into my email. My location services is not working. A number of things just not quite working right. I don't know what's going on.
Well, one thing that is working is I Googled it, and apparently I'm not the only one right now with the issue. It seems like, at least in the States, there's several areas, location-based areas, that are reporting issues with Google services. So,
yeah. They must be in the middle of something.
All right, man. Hey, I'm going on with the show, man. Hey, Rob, T-Mobile announced yesterday that they've expanded their music freedom plan. First of all, they had 13 services available when they started this plan. Real quick: AccuRadio, Black Planet, Groove Shark, iHeartRadio, iTunes Radio, Pandora, Radio Paradise, RDO, Rhapsody, Slacker, Songs, and Spotify. Yesterday they announced that they're adding Google Play Music, digitally imported, Fit Radio, which, by the way, is just music to get you pumped up at the gym. I wondered what Fit Music was. I actually had to look it up and see. Fresco Radio, Google Play Music, Jazz Radio, Live 365, Mad Genius Radio, Radio Pup, Radio.com, Radio Tunes, Rock Radio 7, which is an Indian, SoundCloud, and Xbox Music. So, hey, listen, man, if you're a music fan, I mean, if you really, truly are a music fan and you like streaming music, I would say that T-Mobile might be the service provider you ought to be with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the interesting thing about it for me is I actually try and measure my music. I don't find that music, generally I'll listen to Pandora or Slacker, and I don't find that it really burns a whole lot of data. I mean, but again, in the days of very limited bandwidth, or expensive bandwidth as the case, anything that's free certainly is good. And T-Mobile is pushing the envelope in every possible way they can to compete against AT&T and Verizon. You know, these outrageously cheap data plans, free data for music now, and they just keep expanding. And I wonder when AT&T and Verizon are going to catch on, or whether they're going to catch on at all.
Well, if you look at T-Mobile and what they've done, when they started this uncarrier thing, then, AT&T and T-Mobile started adding plans that, while not maybe exactly like them, were more like them. So T-Mobile is definitely having an influence, at least on the big two.
Yeah. And a lot of people, what they do, of course, we stream. When I say stream, I'm talking about consume our data for Hangouts a good bit. But a lot of people, a vast majority of what they do, if it's not Netflix or Amazon Video type things, it's music. They burn music. So if they're going to give it away for free, I'm hoping that AT&T and Verizon will take notice and start doing something similar.
Like I say, I thought it was pretty interesting that T-Mobile would do this. I guess it was this morning when I saw this article. I was like, wow, man, this is getting pretty serious for music. Okay, man, I'm going to move on, Rob. This is the Wall Street Journal reported that Samsung has sold 40% less Galaxy S5 units than what they sold this time last year with the Galaxy S4. Let's put it in perspective here really quick. The S4 at this time last year had sold 16 million devices. And right now the S5 has sold 12 million devices. Listen, this is down considerably, but I think we need to put this in perspective. I think S5s are still selling better than any other competitor out there, even though it's down. I think the problem is that as Samsung has grown, and they've grown rapidly in the mobile market, they've got a lot of fat. And now that things are slowing down for them, they've got some, and I'd say there's some heat coming at the top, from the top, to better perform. But Rob, I think I've asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it again. Why do you think Samsung sales are suffering so much all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like jam on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You spread yourself out pretty thin, and you're not going to excel in any one particular market, and that's an issue. That's a big issue. And Samsung, we talked about this before. They're cutting back on the number of offerings that they're going to do. That's a smart thing. They need to pull back. I think there's another part of this too that we got to take into account. We're not seeing huge, dramatic jumps. The difference in performance from an S4 to an S5 is not nearly what it was to go from an S3 to an S4. Mm-hmm. So it really is unfair to say, oh, let's compare what the S4 sales were and say, should we expect the same thing out of the S5? You can't do it. They're two totally different jumps in class and capability. I know a lot of people who have the S4 still and are quite happy with it.
Exactly. It's kind of like just from my own experience, I look at the Nexus 6, and I really like the design of the Nexus 6, and the big doesn't bother me because I'm a former Note user. Okay, I like a big display, but there's nothing about the 6 that makes me think that my 5 is a Motorola Atrix, for example. In other words, my 5 is still a viable, great device. I love it. But getting to this, Rob, I'm just going to say this. I think there's a whole lot of things going on, and I think you're dead on between the S4 and the S5. There's no real reason to upgrade there. But I also think that Motorola, LG, and HTC have stepped up their game, especially really all three carriers in the last year and a half have really come on with some incredible flagship devices.
Right.
And then you think about what did Samsung? I think they've got close to 40 phones. Okay, I mean, come on, man, 40 phones.
Right.
So you got a lot of costs there. I'm sure a lot of those phones, at least in America, aren't selling. They might be selling in other spots, but this particular article talks about Samsung. Their sales in China were off almost 50%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at some of these Chinese manufacturers that are really playing in the world today. I love to talk about OnePlus One. That is a device I think I would like to own, but there's others out there, and I think that Samsung's getting pinched. They're just they're not the dominant player that they used to be, because there's other dominant players that are really competing with them successfully.
Right. And they have phones that people want and like. It's not like they were, if you want Android, this is what you get. You get a Samsung. Now we truly do have a lot of choices, both in terms of manufacturer and capability. HTC, even Motorola, with their latest line of the Droid series phones. They're very powerful and very capable devices, and that is going to eat into some of those sales that went originally to the S3 and the S4.
Yeah.
And so now, even if you discredit it and said, oh, they're minor, Motorola, minor player, HTC, minor player. How many phones can you name that HTC has? It doesn't matter. You nibble away at it. Plus, Samsung has spread themselves so thin, not just with their phones, 40 plus different phones, but the Wear, all the additional stuff that Samsung has got their hands in, and that has definitely got to affect the financials and the bottom line. So, again, when you have players who are bringing quality devices that are getting very good reviews, people love the M1. They love it. They just absolutely love it. Can't get your hands on it, but if you can, consider yourself lucky. And people love it. There's nothing for them to jump. They're not missing their S4 or their S5, or even in some cases now their Notes.
Yeah.
Where Samsung had exclusivity with the Note, not anymore. Now you got the Nexus 6.
Yeah, and all phones basically, when the Note came out with a 5.2-inch display, I think your average was maybe 4 inches. Okay, and all the, I mean, who makes a flagship device nowadays that's only a 4-inch phone? I mean, even Apple, has moved from that smaller footprint to larger devices.
Right. And where they said they wouldn't even. Everybody used to think, make fun of holding up a slice of toast to your face to make a phone call. But now as people are using it, they're getting accustomed to the bigger phones. Of course, Samsung can sit back and say, well, yeah, we're the ones who brought this innovation to market and got everybody comfortable with it. Now everybody's jumping on board. And that's a true statement. You think if you come out with something like that people really do like, that your competitors are not going to come up with quality products too? You got to expect. You got to know what's coming.
Well, I look at Motorola's got the Droid Max. I'm sorry, the Turbo. Turbo. That got that quad HP or a quad HD screen. Over 500 pixels per inch. Come on, man. I mean,
yeah,
that's a serious display, man. I'm sure a battery life eater too.
Yeah.
All right, hey man. Rob, I know you've had a rough day, and but I've actually had a pretty good day, and I'll tell you how it started out was this morning I got to reading somewhere about Chrome OS was Google had an offer that if you purchased a new Chromebook, you would get 1 terabyte of data.
Yep.
And I thought, you know what? I purchased my Chromebook in August, so I doubt I'm going to qualify for that. But I thought I'd try it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, I saw this little thing there that said redeem offer, this little blue button on the goodies page, and I clicked on that, and I'll be a son of a gun if I didn't qualify. So for 2 years, I've got a terabyte of free Google Drive storage. Man, just tickled me to death.
I'm surprised that the offer stayed around that long, because I thought, and maybe I'm mistaken, but when I got my Chromebook, or my second Chromebook, I should say, I remember it was 100 gigs was the offering. You got 100 gigs worth of storage, but you had to claim that within 60 days of purchase, I believe. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I was very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. But I'm going to take you somewhere here. Let's tickle to death to get it. You know, free's free. Okay. You can't believe some of the absolute rubbish that I've downloaded from Amazon's App Store because it was the free app of the day. It didn't hang around long on my device.
You just couldn't resist, could you?
Free, you know. Yeah, it was free. But here's the deal. Do you know how much I'm using? I actually posted it on Google Plus today. I'm using a little bit over 12 gigs of Google Drive storage right now. I've got some photos, a few videos, some pictures, and a whole lot of documents.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is I hope people don't buy Chromebooks to get a terabyte of storage, because most people don't need that kind of storage. Would you not agree?
That not likely going to happen. It's not really going to be the case, unless you are really sunk and love Google so much that you're going to put everything in your world there. And I say that because if I took all of my pictures and I took all of my videos and all of my documents, everything that I have sitting on my NAS, not counting my movies, okay, total, I might be at 100 gigs. Might be at 100 gigs. I would not use a terabyte. Now, if we counted the movies, I have about a terabyte of movies, but who in their right mind is going to shove that up to the cloud? You know, that just doesn't make sense. Getting all of that information up there would take, forever. And I certainly am not going to pull it down on my phone and burn up my phone data watching those movies. It's not, that's just not what I would do.
I hear you, and I guess I'm speaking from just from the average consumer, but there are some arguments to be made. I'm sure that a lot of people say, well, if I buy a low end Windows machine and it's a real good, that I'm going to have a 500 gigabyte hard drive come with that, and your Chromebook's only got 16 gigs of storage. Okay, so that might offset that argument, although I don't think it's necessarily a valid argument, because Chromebooks are built to run in the cloud. Okay,
right.
But at the same time, to put it in perspective, if you get this free terabyte of storage, let's put it another way. If you didn't get the free storage and you wanted a terabyte, over a 2-year period, you're going to spend $10. And that's the price of a lot of Chromebooks currently on the market. So that's definitely a selling point there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but I also think that this is an answer about Microsoft's offering and Microsoft's change. What was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where they bumped up the SkyDrive stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably a response along those lines too. I think what's going to happen with Windows 10 is going to be a game changer next year. I think it's going to be a changer for Apple, and I think it's going to be a changer for Google. And I think both of these folks, both of these companies are going to be making substantial differences in how they offer and what they offer to people as gratis for just being part of that ecosystem. So I would expect more from Google. I expect more from Apple too, because I think Microsoft, and not to get off track, but Microsoft with Windows 10 has an offering that puts them back, in the player's table. They're not, these yo-yos who thought they could do whatever they want. And so as they come and they say, okay, this is what we're doing, more storage space, more free services like the Office 365 stuff. All of that is going to have an effect on what Google and Apple do from this point going forward.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, welcome, Jeff Zeiss.
Well, sorry it took me so long here. Uh-oh. No vocals?
You're low. You're low.
All right. I wonder why I'm low.
There you are. There you are.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Much better.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry I got kind of hung up here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's the truth, man. You guys left me out to dry. I had to start the show without you, man. First of all, First Reverend Al goes to Ferguson, Missouri, and encourages everybody to burn that town down.
Oops.
And now, I go live on the air and you don't even show up, or you've hurt my feelings.
Yeah, well, I was too busy protesting down the street, so I decided to. And my lighter fluid, I ran out of lighter fluid.
Oh, great.
Great. So,
what are you guys talking about?
Well, we've kind of taken a pause in the action here. Let's do something a little bit different. Jeff, you're from Zeiss, from Napa, California. Robert, you're from Louisiana. And Robert, I really had plans to start the show tonight with you talking about your business, Kids Believe Letters. You and your wife have what you're doing right now. And I'll be honest with you, Rob, I didn't expect you to make it. You've got, I think you told me earlier this week, 22 guests coming for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, we got a house full.
Yeah, and you've got your business, and right now this is probably your busiest week. I would imagine one of the busiest weeks anyway.
Yeah, the week. The days right before Thanksgiving get crazy, and then right the first week of December, I mean, it just, everybody kind of goes nuts. But I did want to share. I'm glad that you wanted to give me the opportunity, because I'll talk about this. This is just so much fun. We get such a kick out of doing this. But we have released something that you can only get at kidsbelieveletters.com. Nobody else, that there are lots of other competitors who try and do what we do. They can't replicate what we do. We have a very unique process and system that just makes this incredibly believable for kids to get their message from Santa. But I want to grab something, so give me just 1 second. I'm going to reach behind me here. Reach up here, grab this.
As long as you're not grabbing Lisa.
Yes, I can grab Lisa and throw her up on the screen. But I wanted to share with our viewers, I know our listeners can't see, This is what we call the giant Santa letter. This is absolutely adorable. It is an 11 by 17 huge letter from Santa. And what makes this so good, of course, we use the same high quality color backgrounds and the stories that can be picked out for it. What makes this so special is the paper. First of all, the paper is a very heavy 32-pound paper that it's acid-free, it's heirloom quality paper. But the thing is at this size, they know Mom didn't print this out. You know, they don't have this kind of paper. Kids can't get this kind of paper. So when they see a letter from Santa come on something this size, it's absolutely genuine. You know, Santa Claus is a big guy. Of course he's got big letters. We are the only ones who offer this, and we started this week, and I mean, word got out. I mean, this is what happens with social media. I mean, it just went nuts. People were coming and then, of course, ordering, and we special order the paper. And so we weren't sure we were going to get in time. We did. That's great. But now folks are, you know, coming back and looking at what we have to offer, and they're excited. But on a note related to Android Journal and what we do, while, you know, we're a part of Kids Believe Letters, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, there's one thing that I do want to mention, and I'm going to give a shout-out to Guy Cook about this. If you own a website and your website is not mobile ready, you are absolutely positively wasting your time. I kid you not. We have our analytics up for the first season. Are you ready for this? 42% of our website visitors completed their orders on a cell phone.
Wow.
42%. That is an astronomical number. And our website, because what it is, we've been doing this for several years, we're in the process of transitioning to being mobile friendly. So there's still some parts of our website that, you know, you have to pinch and zoom and do a little more than you would normally. But 42% of our visitors came and completed an order from a phone. That just blows me away. And that speaks to how, as consumers and as an industry, the cell phone is going to change so many things going forward in the last year or two. 1 second, Jeff. Let me finish this thought. And if you have a website and you're not thinking about it, just remember that even Santa Claus has to be mobile ready. You know, it doesn't matter if the letter is this big. Of course, it might help if you had the iPhone 6 or the Motorola Turbo or the Nexus 6. But the bottom line is you definitely have to be thinking mobile going forward.
So is it truly cell phones or is it tablets?
No, actually, Google Analytics actually splits out tablets from cell phones.
Okay.
Now, there is kind of this gray area. Do they consider the Note and the iPhone 6 to be a tablet, or do they consider it to be a mobile cell phone? I don't know. My analytics don't tell me that. Yeah. But considering the vast number, I would suspect that anything that has calling capability through a plan, it considers to be a mobile cell phone. Anything like the Nexus 7, the iPad, any one of the Samsung tablets, those they consider truly tablets. But anything that has a cell radio in it, I think that is what is considered mobile.
Yeah, I was wondering if they just did it by the browser type coming into this, checking that, which is, I guess, something else. So.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Windows mobile browser, but I'd say it also I'd say it can read whether or not it's on a data plan or Wi-Fi, and if it's on Wi-Fi, is there a CDMA or GSM radio available with it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, speaking of Nexus 7, guys, real quick, we're kind of getting off topic here, but real quick, I've ordered a coffin for this thing. I'm gonna have to.
Aww.
It's shot. I want to give out a big shout out to Dr. Ajaz Mohammed. He is a Tech and Coffee regular hanger outer, and dropped by the other day, and I told him that I was pretty sure that this thing was corrupted. It was like it was read only. It wouldn't let me change anything, do a hard factory reset or through the software, and he had me open up Ubuntu on my Chromebook and spent 2 hours stepping me through all kinds of rewrites to the device, and we just could not get it to go. Listen, it was a fail, but thanks, Jazz. Even more confident that it's time to say goodbye to an old friend. I've really enjoyed this device, been a handy device, but I'm pretty sure it's met its life's end.
Yeah, are you going to get an N1?
You know what? If I was replacing it today, I couldn't get an N1. I would probably buy a 2013 Nexus 7. I do think, from what I've read about the Nokia N1, I'm pretty tempted. If I replace it, that'll probably be what it is when I do replace it. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to move on here, and here's the deal. We've speaking of Chromebooks and the 1 terabyte of storage, one of the biggest criticisms of a Chromebook has been that you can't do real photo or video editing from the device. And Adobe has announced that they're pushing Photoshop to the Chromebooks. This is totally beta right now. It's not a public beta. It's not available for you and I, but they've demonstrated it, and it is possible to run full-blown Photoshop on a Chromebook. Now, how do they accomplish this? When it's an ARM processor and you're doing all this layering, what kind of experience would that be? Well, basically what Adobe's doing is they're setting up Photoshop on their servers, and their servers are going to do all the real heavy lifting. In other words, the processor is going to be running from Adobe servers, okay? And the Chromebook is just going to be an interface with that. I don't know about you guys, but this sounds pretty expensive to me. I mean, you take a $1,500 Photoshop license. How much more is it going to cost to be using their processors on their servers?
Well, it's interesting that, let's take the price out of it, okay? Let's take the price of the software out, okay? Because I think that Photoshop is a premium, very premiumly priced product, okay? There's a lot of profit in there for what Photoshop is. Adobe has been moving to cloud-based services for several years now. This is not new. I think this just kind of helps them along to push people to subscription-based services. And while you're talking about $1,000+ license, in a lot of cases, once it's bought, people don't want to just go buy the next latest, greatest version. They will hang on to what they have until they can't use it anymore. With the new services, we're going to zap you for $30 or $40 a month. And we'll just continue to do that for as long as you will let us. So while it might be expensive to set up the servers, and I think that would be quite an undertaking considering how many Photoshop users there are, that what ends up happening is they're going to improve their bottom line even better.
Yeah, I think you make a very valid point, because basically all that's really going to be required to run Photoshop in this fashion is a Chrome browser.
Right.
It's not necessarily Chrome OS, but a Chrome browser. So I think you make a very, very valid point.
I can assure you that's what's going to happen. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry I stepped in.
No. I think you're absolutely right. And seems like every business wants to go to that model. That is in the software business, right? That's not. That is, cloud computing, or you're pushing the services to the cloud, because it's the distribution costs, it's the piracy, it's all those other issues that kind of gets a little bit tighter. Although there should, there are always obviously password sharing and things like that, but I think piracy in terms of software, it's going to reduce that tremendously, and for their bottom line, I think they out of it, and it's easier for someone to do that $30 chunk than a $1,000 chunk, right? And that's it. And I think they're just and eventually they might even lower that cost to get more people using it, because it's kind of like Netflix, right? I mean, I spend $10 a month for Netflix or whatever it is. I get my $10? Sometimes I go a month and I never even don't even use it. So I'm just paying them and I'm not even accessing their servers. So that's the other issue as well. So I think they can scale it and they can make money on it, and they'll save distribution costs, they'll save on the piracy cost. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about Netflix though, Jeff. If you don't use it, trust me, my son Zachary watches
his share, right?
Movies, your share of movies, everybody's share of movies. But again, what it really comes down to, and there was a quote many years ago, maybe I'm showing my age a little bit, when AOL was all the rage, okay? Everybody had AOL. Everybody was paying AOL $20-25 a month. And somebody said, why would you even consider buying AOL? Their financials are terrible. Yeah, but they have 100 million people who are sending them $20 a month. Hello?
Yeah.
That's why. There's value in those numbers, and it's month after month after month after month. And the same thing's going to happen with Photoshop.
Yeah.
I will predict, we're not in a prediction show, but I can guarantee 2015 is going to be the year of the online app.
Oh, yeah.
That is where Microsoft Word, Excel, Google Documents, Adobe, it is going to be online. It doesn't
wait till they integrate Photoshop into Google Glass. That's just will be the epitome of the...
Wait. We're not talking about last year's failed predictions, Jeff.
Speaking of that, I'll just go ahead and let everybody know. Next week, guys, we're going to look back on our 2014 predictions that we made at the first of the year, and we're going to see how everybody did. And yeah, that ought to be. I always enjoy those shows. I enjoy both when we look back and then the next year's prediction shows. I always enjoy those.
We should have a drinking game show.
Oh yeah, you take a drink for every prediction you got wrong.
Exactly.
We'd be a bunch of drunks.
I don't think anybody'd be able to understand us by the end of the show.
Yeah, but hey, our other predictions might be right on.
Okay, hey, let's. I'm going to call that one discussed. There, I am. Listen, I'm going to say this in closing though. Just kind of like that 1 terabyte of Google Drive space probably isn't a reason for just anybody to go buy a Chromebook.
No.
If going back to if you need Windows products, you don't buy a Chromebook. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think that's the case here with Photoshop. Even though we don't know when this thing is going to be, a featured product that will run within Google's Chrome and Chrome OS, I would think that people who really need Photoshop are going to really need Photoshop from a Mac or maybe a Windows PC.
Yeah, I was just good. I was going to say, how many people are doing their full function job? Let's leave Bruce out of this for a second, because we know Bruce can do everything on his Chromebook, and that's good. But there's not a lot of people who are really using the high-end features of Photoshop that are going to use a Chromebook as a general rule. And the fact that Photoshop is available on a Chromebook is not going to make them run out and go and get it.
Yeah, but it may make them more productive if work versus home, or on being mobile and being able to work on a project. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if say if they are a true Photoshop shop, right, and it's on a Windows server someplace or whatever it's located, and they have all these licenses in their workforce. Maybe they do have VPN at home, or something like that. We're able to do that, but perhaps if you're on the road, and you want to be able to access something and change it.
You just absolutely have to edit this photo and remove that little sun ray out of it, Jeff. It just can't be there. You got to take it out right now.
Yeah, I got to put Britney Spears' face on a different photo. I mean, if I want to do it on the road, I got to do it.
I got you. Okay, I understand. Hey.
Speaking of Britney, hey guys, we are Tech and Coffee. We are a Google Plus community. We were a community before Google offered communities, and we would love to have you come hang out with us. Head on over to techandcoffee.info. And there's a link there where you can join our hangout. We hang out daily. Just grab your favorite cup of coffee, and we normally get started about 8:30. We get cranked up every morning. We have several telecommuters that hang out there, and actually from all over the world. I say 8:30. That would be Eastern time. Hey, we've got a Twitter and a Facebook. You can catch us there at Tech and Coffee 1. Our YouTube channel is Tech and Coffee. Our podcast can be found on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and other podcasts. You can follow us on Google Plus. Search for Tech and Coffee. Look for that T and C logo. Hey, questions, comments, snide remarks, drop them to AJ at techandcoffee.info. We'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, man, we're going to move into our apps segment this evening. Jeff, what do you got for us, my friend?
Again, I don't have an app. I've been very lax, but I have two topics I'd like to just kind of briefly talk about. And one is what you mentioned. You gave me the suggestion of side-loading XBMC onto my tablet, and that did work wonderfully. So it's performing better than on my tablet, so it's working great with Lollipop. That's number one. Number two is I'm expecting my Fire Stick on December 1st. So that's very cool, which I'm going to side-load. You can side-load XBMC on that, and I'm going to see how that runs. And number three, actually, I said two things. I have three things. Speaking of Chromebooks, I think last week there was an update to the Chrome OS, right? And I did the restart and updated it. And ever since then, my Wi-Fi is not as strong. It's been knocking out a little bit, and that's one negative about the Chromebook is you can't roll back to a previous version, right? To go back to so they did something to the Wi-Fi, because I have not changed anything on my system here, and my Wi-Fi is dropping out more on the Chromebook. So that is a negative. If you want to roll back to a different version of the OS, you don't really doing that. So until they fix it. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing it, but my Wi-Fi is dropping out, and I have to kind of reboot my PC and kind of re-enable the DCHP whatever is happening. So that's my little
it
thing.
sucks. I have not experienced that problem on my end, Jeff. I don't know, maybe, and listen, I'm not excusing it, but
Right.
it might just be an issue with that version of Chrome and your router.
It could be, because it could be using a different authentication, like whatever is it, TPIK, whatever the security.
PKIP or AES.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Now it's switched over or something. But again, you can't roll back to check that unless you want to go off and go into a beta channel or something like that, and go off that version of the OS. So I could check my router and see what kind of security it's using, and switch it over. But I shouldn't have to do that, right? I mean, it should just work, right? So, anyways,
Right.
but I will check that. But that would be the only thing I could think of that doing something.
Jeff, this is SPMC, runs just fine on my Nexus 5 with Lollipop.
Yeah, it didn't. It was crapping out on mine.
Yeah.
On what device were you doing the Lollipop?
Nexus 10.
On the Nexus 10. Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting, and I'm going to barge in here and kind of segue, because I don't have an app for you guys tonight either. I was hoping to do a soundboard app that I'm going to do. I'm going to have to save that for next week. But unfortunately, I got a little bit involved with some stuff this afternoon and could not get my sound stuff plugged into my soundboard to show it. So I will talk about that next week. But I want to know, what's the deal with Lollipop? I'm sitting here with a Nexus 7 2013, and I still got no Lollipop love.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you get a letter from Santa saying that you want the Lollipop, it'll show up. But yeah, what is the deal with that? You should be able to just click, update, and boom, get it, because it's just out there, right? It should be out there.
Right. For at minimum Nexus devices. I mean, this is a Google device. What is the holdup? And
yeah.
so,
why did I get it? And
question,
didn't? Yeah, because we're running the same. The Nexus 7, Nexus 10. I'm sure. What's the difference, right? So why?
There's differences. There's differences in the hardware, the processor. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. But then again, you could have a Samsung device and Lollipop's rolled out now, and you're not going to see it before March at the earliest. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but if part of my is to say, I want a Nexus device because I want to have a pure Google experience. I want to have what they consider to be the latest and greatest operating system for the device. I would expect that by now, Lollipop should be available for every Nexus device.
Yeah, it should have been the first thing out of the box, shoot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Well, Google takes a different approach, and I'm glad that they do. Actually, I mean, look at how many times people have rolled out updates, total software updates, only to have to roll them back because there was something that they missed in testing. And it's my understanding the way that Google does it is they roll out to 1%, and if there's no ill effects, then they roll out to a larger percentage, and they keep rolling out that way. And this kind of ensures them that they're not breaking, a whole bunch of devices across the board.
Okay, and I would buy that, and I'm not going to argue that as being a valid strategy. However, the process is taking much longer than it should, because the SDK was available to developers. I now have apps that are updating to be Lollipop compatible, but guess what? They're starting not to work on my tablet.
Yeah, you're saying that they already. Yeah.
To not do so well. Even some of Google's own stuff is not doing so well. We started out the show, when I came in, you were talking about Google services not being available. I wonder how much of this might be some contention with the Lollipop stuff, because there are services that are updated to be Lollipop ready, but yet the devices don't have them, and so functionality that's expected to be there is not there. I can't give a specific example, but I can tell you that I've had several apps and Google services all have been very flaky the last couple of days.
Yeah, like I say, there's something going on, and since you brought it back up, let's give it a try here. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. See, Google's mad at me. It's not speaking to me. Okay, Google. Yeah, it's down, guys. Yeah, there's something up with Google services still. Okay, hey guys, really quick. I did not even set up TeamViewer to do this. You guys were talking about not having an app for tonight, and I understand. Listen, I appreciate y'all making it, both of you, even though you were late, and I started the show without you. Appreciate you making it. The app that I've got tonight is a really simple app. It's called Adamus, and for the people who are viewing, I'll show this real quick on my desktop. If I can get rid of somebody's been tweeting here. This is all this is eye candy. You install this and you put your finger on the screen and you got all of these colors. You can move them around. Right now the guy is demoing one finger. Now he's going to do two fingers, and it's just eye candy, and it's very mesmerizing to do this. It's called Adamus HD. Here's the cool thing about this, guys. This is the app that is being demoed. If you're into the live wallpaper scene, they've actually got live wallpapers that do something very similar. And you can do, right now he's doing 3 fingers, you can do 4 fingers, and you can see how he can stretch. And the app does nothing. It's not a utility, it's not a tool, it's not even a game. But I find myself, when I do have this open, man, I'll find myself wasting 10-15 minutes just moving these colored lights around,
It's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's good. That's very interesting. Now, if you had that, basically screencasted to your TV and your Chromecast, you could even go even more bizarre, right?
Yeah, man, take a hit of LSD and just wig out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool little app, and they do have a free version. The paid version is 99 cents. The free version, of course, has some ads in it. But this is Adamus HD. It's a pretty cool little app, and honestly, I enjoyed it on my Nexus 5. I'd like to enjoy it on a tablet, but mine broke. But yeah, on a larger screen, you can really kind of get wrapped up in it. So that's Adamus HD, guys. That's my app this week.
Very cool.
Excellent. I like that.
Yeah. So hey, guys, anything else before we call this thing a done deal?
I'm gonna have some pumpkin pie later.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man.
I'm not waiting to Thanksgiving.
I love pumpkin pie, pecan too. Of course, hey, I love pie. So, hey guys, listen, you guys have you a very happy Thanksgiving in America. And for my European friends who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you don't know what you're missing, man, because it's a good time. I've got, Robert, you said you had 22 family members. We don't have 22 this year, but I'm gonna say more than 14. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. I've got
Are you counting Sadie?
I'm not counting Sadie. No. But we got family coming in, traveling a little bit to come in and see us. My wife's actually invited someone that we really don't know. She opens up our home basically to strangers, anybody that doesn't have a place to go. And you know, way back in the day when she first did it, it kind of made me mad. Just being honest about it, I thought, you know, this was more family time. But over the years, I've really enjoyed getting to know people. I've kind of made some friendships. You know, Jeff, a lady that lives out in your area now. Last year at this time, she came here, traveled from Bristol, Virginia, and she's relocated to Napa. So, absolutely, man, it's always a good time. So, I want to wish you two guys a very happy Thanksgiving, and yeah, man, you guys have a good one, and we will catch you in 7 with our prediction show. We're going to see how we did in 2014.
All right.
Hey guys, peace out, man, and I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.